Hello? Hello! I don't really think it's morning, but in case it's past midnight for anyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, every cub. Hi, and welcome to a really late night study stream. I promise I'm so energetic, but I feel like if I'm trying to advertise for a late night chill study stream, that I should probably keep it nice and calm and relax and all that jazz. But I hope everyone's doing super well. Happy Tuesday to y'all, or again Wednesday if it's past midnight. Go to sleep. So today we're here with some pathophysiology, and it's a very long term, but we're going to break down the definition. We're going to see what it is, and there's some key points that we're going to review because I have an exam tomorrow, and for whatever reason I really did try all day to study, but my work had recently extended their hours, so I didn't get my nap time. And so because of that, I guess my focus has been all over the place. I recently had a little school meeting that was actually cut short. So I was like, you know what? When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. So I'm going to try to do the best with this opportunity. Thank you for the head pats. Hi, Space. Hi. Welcome. Man, let me say my hellos and then we'll get started, okay? If the music's too loud or anything like that, also just let me know, okay? Hi, Zero. Hi. Welcome. Hey, look, it's a dummy. Heck you. It's me. Heck you too. Welcome. Hi Dashin, hi, how are you? I'm doing good. Again, I just had all that school stuff. I had a little tutoring session and then a meetup with my professor. I feel bad because I really did want to stream 4 to 5 hours ago, but I forgot all these things were happening, and then my classmates had moved the meeting with the professor, and then my professor's like, you know what? I'll see you guys next week. So I was like, what? But it is what it is, Hi again, Space. So hi, welcome, and hi, Alex. Hi. I'm gonna play War Thunder and listen to Tippa so I learn history and biology. Let's go, dual learning. Let's go. Alex, it's not fair. Why does your mom let you have 2 learning styles, or let you learn 2 topics at the same time? Heck. Hi Much, hi, welcome. Hi Boss as well, welcome. Late night study hours? Yeah. Again, brain decides to be on now. Well, let's get started, shall we? Alright, so this is not necessarily a super fun topic to talk about in the beginning aspects of it, because when we get into much later aspects, we're going to learn more about diseases and disorders, and maybe towards the end of the study stream, we'll talk a little bit about it, like genetic disorders, like, how do you say it? Like, I know there's Down syndrome, but there's also like Kleppernstein syndrome, but I don't know if that's the excuse me, I don't know if that's the proper way to pronounce it, but we'll get to it when we get to it. I think you bear promise you, okay? Hi Salik, hi, welcome. Study stream, yes. But I'm keeping it super chill, cozy, relax. You can probably fall asleep to Z. But let me give both you and Faust a shout out. One moment. Alright, so let's get to it. So, pathophysiology is a big word, so let's break it down. So, physiology in general is going to be the study of normal function of a living organism and its component parts. So basically, everything we learned in biology, kind of like in our undergrad or in high school, it's like, oh, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. But what happens if that doesn't work? Oh, Mondai, hi, welcome. Hi. Welcome to Study Stream. Welcome to the Club Chat. So, if the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, doesn't work, that's when we get into the topic of pathophysiology, which is it is what we're going to be focusing on today. So pathophysiology is the study of disorder of physiological processes in relation to disease, injury, etc. So long term to basically be like, we're just going to be studying diseases and disorders, basically. To be so aroused of myself. Wait, why was that separate? Thank you, Sarah, though. Thank you for the private sub for 17. Oh, Akimas, I appreciate you. Thank you. I don't know, for whatever reason, when you say that, I kind of think of like idol culture. And you know when like the fans have like the little like headbands around their like the forehead, and then they have like the glow sticks? That's what I imagine. It's like, Tepe is the powerhouse of myself. Let's go. But thank you. No, you're perfectly fine. I appreciate you though. Thank you for the support. Thank you. Almost 1 year, even though that's definitely not math, but it's definitely closer to 1 year than any other number than it was previously, you know? Big math. Anyway. So yeah, let's get into it. So we won't get into like the super fun stuff. So we have to talk about the foundation and the basics of everything. So we have to, I should probably reiterate, this document that I have is a study guide that me and my classmates had made. That is a combination of my notes, my classmates' notes, and some of the reviews that I've done with my professor in class. So some of it's organized, like the very beginning's organized, but you know, you start off strong and then you start tumbling down. So later on, I might not be able to write. Some of these notes are not written out, they might just be screenshots, and some of the information might be my first time seeing it in a while, so I apologize if I'm not able to explain it super well. But yeah, Forever 17 months, let's go! Huh? Come Suser moment? Wait, what does that mean? What does it mean? I just know it in Ava. I just know it's Ava. Oh wait, is it just the song? Oh heck, I'm a fake fan. I'm sorry. Let me politely look away. It's from the end. I know. Okay. Just making sure. Anyway, so let's identify the 4 major themes in physiology. So physiology, again, it's the normal function of our body. So theme 1, it's going to be knowing that the structure and functions are closely related. Again, as much as I emphasize this as a really dumb example, yes, the mitochondria is going to be the powerhouse of the cell. It's going to give our cells energy to do what they need to do. You may have also heard things like the Golgi apparatus, which is like the male system or the mailman or male woman of the body and whatnot. Knowing what the structure does and its function, it makes sense that things are structured to be the way they are because of how they function. I don't really have necessarily a picture example, but I think I might have some screenshots from the PowerPoint about more into the cell and looking into it, and so we could see like, oh, this is structured like this because this is what it does. So to dive deep more into the relationship, it's to know that they're closely related. So we have like the molecular interaction, and we can compartmentalize kind of the function that each one does, similar to what we were talking about in our previous study stream about the muscles, how the leg muscles, like our quads or our hamstrings, our quads or the quadricep muscles, or the muscles on our interior or the front of our thigh, like if we put our hands on our lap, these muscles are underneath our hand. We can compartmentalize that information and be like, oh yes, all those muscles have a function to extend the knee, so you do a little can dance from your seat, you know. Also, you got to make sure you got that blood flow going, okay? Make sure you stand up and stretch and all that stuff, okay? Anyway, a little off topic, I apologize. So then we have theme 2. So theme 2 is that living organisms need energy. So we'll talk about ATP, we'll talk about aerobic and anaerobic and all that stuff. So we'll put that off to the side for just a moment. Theme 3. Information flows coordinates body function. So DNA kind of how is the word? The blueprint to our whole entire body. Our DNA is the information, and that's going to help coordinate to how we are, to very simple things of like, oh, our genetics, and like, oh, what is our eye color, and what is this, and do we have this disorder, and do we have an extra hacker? And the last thing for physiology is going to be homeostasis, to maintain internal stability. Homeostasis is a big homie. Like, you know, homie, my pal, my friend, my buddy, my good old pal. Homeostasis is just a really fancy word for balance. Because if you don't have balance within the body, what's going to end up happening is that you're most likely going to get sick or some kind of injury. Well, we have, I think, like a little section of homeostasis just dedicated to it. So we'll talk about that in just a few moments, okay? Hi B, hi, welcome. Not a bee swarm? Okay, there's only one bee, definitely not a swarm. Welcome. Huh? Zero says it's okay, I know you hate Ava. It's not that I hate it, but I watched it the same time around like SG had watched it, because he's like, I never watched it, and I'm like, you know what, I guess I never really watched Ava either. So I think he watched it first, and he's like, it's so good, you have to watch it. And I watched it, and I'm like, I mean, yeah. I think I probably would have appreciated it more when I was like before Forever 17, and it was like one of the first animes that I might have watched, and then it might have been my introduction to like psychological stuff, and I've been like, oh, holy heck, this is the best anime ever. And this analysis, I'm sorry. But yeah, so now this is something a little off topic. This is more kind of definitions for pathophysiology, but basically I just need to know how we can compare the mechanistic, oh my goodness, and the teleological explanations of how our body works. So those are all really big words. So we talk about mecha, we talk about telo, and pretty much it's just function versus process, our why versus our how. So for the teleological approach, it's going to explain the purpose or goal of the function. So why do certain things happen? For example, why do red blood cells transport oxygen? It's because the cells need oxygen. So why do they do it? Because they need it. While the mechanistic approach, again like mechanics, the mechanism, etc., is going to explain the process, or how does it work. So okay, we understand why red blood cells transport oxygen, but how do they do it? And in more particular, or more specifically, I apologize, the answer is going to be that the oxygen molecules are going to bind to hemoglobin, which are found in our red blood cells. So yeah. Oh, hi Blue, hi, welcome. Sorry I missed it. Did you watch the original Ava anime? Yes, I did. And then I had watched it, and then I watched the movies, and then conveniently the latest movie, or the final movie, had come out, so it was all good timing, for sure. I'm sorry, I'm just reading my dumb personal note. My personal note, it says to associate mechanistic approach as terms as mechanisms or machines and be like, how does that work? Machines are so crazy. I wonder how they would do it. And then process of elimination. Then teleological is your why. Big wow. Thank you, big brain Tippa from the past. So yeah. Teleological seems to mean showing evidence or design or purpose. Yeah, that's gonna be your why. When you are showing evidence of design, you're kind of basically explaining the why does it do this and why does it work the way it does. When you study human physiology, I don't think it's evidence of smart designs. The human back, for example. No, I think the human back is pretty smart. The way that we have certain curvatures, like we have normal kyphotic and lordotic curves, which this is going to be slightly off topic, but let's look at the spine a little bit then. Hold on. And then I can explain these crazy terms. Spine curvatures. Excuse me. Alright, let's get back into the document. I think the back is pretty neat. And then again, we have our cervical curvature, which is going to be curving inward, as you see. And that's going to be our lordosis curve, while the thoracic curve is going to be our lordotic curves. And obviously having excess of it is pretty bad, and that may form from bad posture or something out of our control like scoliosis. But yeah, I think the body is cute. The body's cute and the body is really neat. I mean, it's a shame that a lot of us, especially gamers rise up, or I'm sorry, Galmers rise up. It's completely a shame that we probably all have like low back problems, but it's the idea that if we stretch and strengthen, then we wouldn't necessarily have it. Not saying that's the cure-all. Obviously there's other factors to consider, but yeah, I wish we could just not have any problems whatsoever. The human lower back keeps failing though. S5, S1, I'm sorry. Do you have like a herniation or something like that? Either way, I'm so sorry. Little bit of exercise designed assigned to you by your doctor or physical therapist will do wonders for you, hopefully. Pause cross. Anyway, so now that we're talking about the normal function of the human body in itself, not necessarily the structure and bones and muscles, but the actual systems, let's talk about the 10 systems that we have within our body. So we have the integumentary system, which is going to form that protective barrier. So this is going to include the skin layers, so it includes the skin and the skin layers. So we have like the epidermis, the dermis, the hypodermis. We also have associated glands like the sweat glands, hair, and nails. Those are all going to perform a protective barrier for us. I don't actually, maybe not use that example, never mind. Anyway, moving on, we also have the wait, I forgot you could just see my mouse like this. That's okay. So over here we have the musculoskeletal system, and that's going to provide support and movement. So pretty much what we were talking about in yesterday's study stream with the muscles, and if you have weakness in this, what will happen? So let's actually kind of associate some of that information from yesterday. So yesterday we were talking about the gluteus muscles, right? And I know everyone's familiar with, your gluteus maximus, but we talked about us having also a gluteus medius and a gluteus minimus. So it's important to know that if you have any kind of muscle weakness, especially in your gluteus medius, what's going to end up happening is that your gait, your walking, gait is just another fancy word for walking, your walk cycle is going to be kind of all out of whack just because of one muscle. What's going to happen is that if you have a weak gluteus medius. You're gonna have this Trendelenburg sign, which is I guess you would consider a disorder that someone will have, and basically how it presents is that someone's kind of strutting. So you know how models walk and they're going like unts to the side? Well, imagine that, but out of your control. And that's why muscular system super important. Yay! Don't have weak glutes. Let's go. Blue says, I have some disc issues, yeah, but I'm also seeing a physiotherapist, so thanks. And meds, yeah, definitely keep them. I hope you're taking like anti-inflammatories and whatnot, basically trying to make the pain go away or lessen it. But I'm glad that you're able to seek help for it, though. There's like a lot of people, and I understand their woes as well with health insurances, that they're not able to go see a specialist for their needs, but always try to take care of yourself. Your health is always number one, you know? But yeah. So let's continue on, okay? So we also have our other systems. To kind of basically sum it up, it's going to be the systems that are going to help exchange materials between the internal and the external environment. So we're going to have respiratory, digestive, urinary, and reproductive. Wait, what's with the entrance? How? You know what? You remind me of, what do you call it? Have you guys heard about the Niji Sanji VTuber who had just recently debuted maybe like 2 weeks ago? I don't remember her name, but her like last name is like a pun off 1 million, because I don't know if this was supposed to be like a one-off or a joke VTuber for Niji Sanji hitting like 1 million subscribers on YouTube. And basically, she's like a princess type. Well, I mean, there's more to it. Apparently, she's like a shun and neat playing as a princess type, but she just does it so well. So, but yeah, heck of a study session, isn't it? It is, because it's super late. But welcome. Yeah. NSAIDs? Good thing I have good insurance before the issues? No, honestly, thank hecking goodness. Good insurance, let's go! But yeah. So, these systems, again, respiratory, digestive, urinary, and reproductive systems. Then we also have our nervous and endocrine system, which is going to help coordinate body function. We have circulatory system, which is going to help distribute material to the blood. And then we also, last but not least, we have the immune system, which is going to protect the internal environment, as it's closely associated with the circulatory system. So as you know, circulatory system is like, your red blood cells, your white blood cells, and all that good stuff, okay? So let's kind of politely scroll down there. So even though we talked about homeostasis earlier, remember, homeostasis, even though it is associated with the term balance, a balance doesn't need to be equal, you know? That might sound a little bit weird, and I wish there was like a better example of what I'm trying to say. But homeostasis does not equal equilibrium. It's just a steady state. It's a balance. So hey, one side might have more than the other, but if the other side is okay with that, then that's okay. And that whole idea and that whole system is going to form basically a balance, hence the homeostasis. Is the lymphatic system under the immune system? Yes, it is. I know there was like a dedicated slide, so I'm gonna politely hope for the best and see if I have it. If not, maybe my classmate had wrote something in the other study guide. Not to sound so like, rude about it, but he had finished it earlier today and I didn't really get the time to check it through. So hopefully we can watch it together, okay? Wait, you got one more. Gao. Hi, Gamer Lord. Hi, welcome. Huh? Very happy today? You debuted it? Oh, congratulations! Bachi. I hope you had a really successful debut. Honestly, debuts are so fun, honestly. I feel, there was always this like little hot debate. I mean, I guess it's still a pretty hot debate with VTubers of like, hey, do you debut? Do you not debut? It doesn't necessarily, I guess, matter if you do or don't. You do what you feel comfortable with. But I think a debut is just so fun. You get to put yourself out there. And then, you know, when you get more into streaming and maybe even a year from now, maybe even two, wink wonk, you go Drew and you just like look at your VOD and you're just like, oh my gosh, that was my debut. Oh, and then you see how much you've improved. So it's really, really nice. But thank you for the head pat. Thank you. But yeah, if you just finished debuting, congratulations yet again. Please feel free to rest up and do all that you gotta do, because I don't know if it's also late for you over there as well. But also, thank you so very much. I appreciate ya. Thank you for paying it forward from Dingus. I appreciate ya. Thank you. And thank you for gifting us up to Lamork. I appreciate ya. And Blue, I'll try to answer your questions. I'll try, but I'm only a bearcat and at worst a bearcat student. But thank you for the head pat. Thank you. But yeah, Alex says, I don't know what I'm talking about or what you're talking about. Oh, that's fine. Pathophysiology is just a really, it's not a fun subject, in my opinion. Yeah, I could be like, oh, it's the human body. You have one, don't you? You know? But this is like advanced biology, basically. It's not as fun to me as talking about the muscles, because, you know, people like the muscles. It's what we're most familiar with. People are not familiar with homeostasis, you know? People want to hear about the hamstrings and quads and etc. They want to hear, hey, how can I strengthen this? Or, oh, I have this issue, or da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So it's okay. Hopefully you'll be able to learn something, but as long as you're here, I mean, I just appreciate your company. So even if you do or don't learn anything, it's not a problem. As long as you're letting me, if you're letting me at least politely regurgitate the information, I can just appreciate that fact enough. So just thank you for being here. Anyway, that goes for any cup, by the way. Thank you for at least letting me have study streams be possible, because if not, studying would take over my whole life, and I think streaming it is just so much more fun, you know? I also may have like a whole thing of like being able to teach others, because if I'm if I'm able to teach others, then I have a better grasp of the information. If that makes sense. Anyway. Huh? You be nice is making me soft. Well, I'm glad. What do you call it? People deserve nice things, you know? And I think people deserve respect and being nice to each other. So you're good. Huh? It was a great time. Thank you. Please take care. Bye. Have a good one. Bye. Thank you for stopping by. Please rest up, okay? Alright. So let's continue. So this one is, again, this is not fun information to talk about, but again, our homeostatic mechanisms are going to be dependent on mass balance, which is not a concept I'm comfortable talking about, so I'm not quite sure. So just know that if there's to be a consistent internal environment, anything gained must be offset by a loss. So basically, it's that scale again that we're talking about. Like, hey, you want to keep peace in this area? Okay, what do you have to offer? What are we doing to make this peace? So my professor likes to say to appreciate something, so that's why the notes are highlighted. It's like, oh, appreciate it. So let us appreciate this more. So the other point here on this slide is, can't fully measure the amount of excretion via internal metabolism, but we can measure the flow rate, or the rate of flow, which is the mass flow, and clearance, or the rate of removal. Okay. Basically, this is talking about the balances of the external and internal environment. So if we see right here, we kind of have this buffer zone. This is especially this is a close, I wouldn't say a close zoom in, but you see how the cell is here? So the cell has the intracellular fluid. That's going to be our internal environment, making sure everything is a-okay. We have our little buffer area. And then the external environment is pretty much everything outside the cell. So pretty much homeostatic is trying to get that balance between what is inside the cell and what is outside the cell. So we have two control systems. So we have a local control and a reflex control. So the local control is cells in direct vicinity sense change, and they employ immediate response, typically via chemical releases. I wonder if we have like a good example. Let's see. So oxygen decreases in tissue. So then the cells lining the blood vessels will detect that change. It'll be like, It'll be like, oh shoot, tip is low on oxygen. Go, 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 go. So these linings of the blood vessels are going to detect that change, and from there they're going to do its job of releasing a chemical signal. From there it's going to do vasodilation. So vasodilation is just opening of those blood vessels, and when you open blood vessels or just open anything, you're going to increase that blood flow to the tissue, which is going to increase that oxygen, and then we're going to go back to our homeostasis. Can you turn on the music? Oh yeah, just let me know anytime anything's too loud. I will admit the music did get suddenly louder, so I'm like, oh heck. But thank you for letting me know. But yeah, basically, I don't know what I can use IRL example. This is the IRL example, you know? This is your body and your blood vessels and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, how do I explain it? I'm glad. Let me know if I still need to turn it up or turn it down a little bit, okay? Sorry about that again. But that's our local control. Basically, that immediate area is gonna reset, detect that change, and that change is gonna be basically almost immediate. So our second control is going to be our reflex control. So we're going to have response loops which are negative or positive. So I don't know if you guys are familiar or may have heard in your previous biology class, hello? Like a negative feedback loop or a positive feedback loop. All the studies for me to become a doctor? Yeah. Basically. I mean, it's worth it. I mean, it is something that I want to do, a doctor of something, but I gotta know the human body inside and out, literally. No need to apologize? Okay, I'm just making sure. Again, I just want a really cool, chill vibes, you know? But yeah. So, the similarities between the negative and positive feedback loop is that they're both going to require a stimulus. So let's talk about a negative feedback loop. So this is going to sound weird, but because it has the word negative, that doesn't necessarily mean bad. In this case, this actually might be a good thing. So negative feedback loop is trying to get the body back to homeostasis or homeostatic. Again, it's that sense of balance. So an example of negative feedback loop is that, hey, let's say you're outside and it's very hot. Let's say it's like 90 degrees Fahrenheit. What is that in Celsius for my EU cubs who are not supposed to be awake right now? Let's say it's like 32 degrees Celsius, 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow, so hot, right? You begin sweating, obviously, when you're too hot, because when you sweat, it's your body's mechanism to be like, look, you really need to cool off. How can we cool off? All right, we're going to produce this liquid. Okay. So when you're doing that, while you sweat, you're able to cool off, and the loop shuts off when the body temperature is comfortable. So after you sweated a little bit, you're like, oh, okay, I feel a little bit of relief, and then the system just shuts down. If it was a positive feedback loop, which might sound a little bit weird, you wouldn't stop sweating, and that's definitely a condition that I know some people may have, as rare as it is. But let's talk about an example of positive feedback loop. So this is not homeostatic. We're not trying to get a balance. We just got a stimulus and we're rolling with it. So when a mama bear and a papa cat love each other very much, they form a baby. And when the baby goes through the canal, basically it's going to stretch the cervix, and that stretch reflex is going to be the stimulus, which is going to trigger this hormone in the mother's body called oxytocin, or oh my god, yeah, right, oh my gosh, I got really nervous about saying that. And this hormone is going to be responsible for contracting the uterus. So this cycle is going to keep continuing and keep repeating, and it's going to reinforce itself, and it won't stop until the baby is out, because the baby is causing that stimulus, because the baby is stretching the cervix, and that stretch reflex again is going to release that hormone, and again it won't stop until again the pregnancy is complete. Here's kind of like another diagram of this. So as you see, the positive one, you have the initial stimulus, you have the response, stimulus, and then once you get everything back, you have that homeostatic, everything's in balance, the response loop will shut off. While in the positive feedback, again, it's going to reinforce that physiological response. Again, that stretch reflex that I was just talking about. So again, you have the initial stimulus, you have the response, you have the stimulus that will increase, and then it'll go back into this positive feedback loop. And then right here, to turn off that loop, you're going to need an outside factor to shut it off. And again, in this case, it's the baby being completely out. Sounds more like a runaway feedback loop. Yeah, just a tiny little bit. So again, we talked about homeostasis, that hey, if it's doing well, you're good. You're just flat out good. At the balance, this wellness life is good. And if you don't have homeostasis in your body, then you're not doing well, and that may lead to sickness, which is why, hey, your body wasn't able to fight off this infection and fight the right balance with its environment. So hey, now you have a cold, or hey, now you have a fever, or hey, you're just under the weather. So it happens. It's a completely normal thing as we, progress through life. So now that we kind of talked about the foundation of how our body kind of reacts to stuff, let's go into more foundational stuff. Let's talk about the basic building blocks of a cell. So the cell has four major functions of its cell membrane. So as you know, cell, little baby membrane, and the membrane is going to help produce a barrier. It's physical isolation, as we were just talking about, as a division or divider of the internal environment versus the external environment. We're also going to have structural support and help maintain its shape. It's also going to help transport nutrients, which we'll talk about transport in a little bit, hopefully, and just communication between the external and internal environment. So the membrane, is it hydrophilic or hydrophobic? So hydrophilic, let's break down this word. Hydro is relating to water. Philic means that you like something. Hydrophobic means water, and phobic means that you do not like that thing, basically. So is the cell membrane hydrophilic or hydrophobic? And actually, it's both. I don't really have a good picture of it, so maybe I can grab one really quick. One moment, okay? I'm sure that you cubs have seen it. This is not too new, One moment. So you see the membrane right here? So right here, this is going to be our phospholipid bilayer. Phospholipid because phospholipid molecules, and bilayer because it's two. So we have the tail end and we have the head end. The tail end is actually hydrophobic. It's hydrophobic, so each tail kind of touches each other. It's like, I don't want the liquid, I don't want the stuff that's outside of the cell. But the head is hydrophilic. It loves that stuff. So it's like, heck yeah, put me in the water. And so that is our cell membrane. It's a phospholipid bilayer that's composed of both hydrophilic and hydrophobic components. So we'll take this picture out really quick, okay? So let's talk about the cell. So we know that the cell is composed of the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, and then our nucleus. From there, the cytoplasm is going to have several aspects. We're going to have the cytosol, which we should talk about in a little bit. The membranous organelles, again, mitochondria, the ER, the endoplasmic reticulum, the Golgi apparatus, the lysosomes, the periosteums. I know, these are all big words. But again, go back to your biology class. And hopefully, again, we do talk about it in a little bit. We have our inclusions, such as our lipid droplets, glycogranules, and ribosomes. And then we also have our protein fibers in the cell, like our cytoskeleton, centrioles, cilia, and flagella. Hi Toro. Hi. Welcome. Welcome to late night Z study stream. Welcome. So yeah. So let's talk about cell to tissue. So connections between the cells and the material around it. We talked a little bit about the extracellular matrix, so we can kind of skip that. Oh my goodness, this is so bright. Alright, no more cell. Let's talk about tissue, apparently. So, Actually, let me take a little sip of water. I apologize. One moment. So, we have 4 types of tissues in our body. So we have epithelial, which is like a minimal amount. It's basically will this chart be a good indicator? Oh, I see. So epithelial is going to help cover our body surfaces. It's like very minimal. Like, again, it covers the skin, and there's really no direct blood supply for it. It's going to help line the cavities and hollow organs and tubes. And they have a secretory gland, so again, about the sweating. Another type of tissue we have, which I guess you may not associate as tissue, or maybe you're more familiar with the idea of the term muscle tissue, but yes, our muscle is going to be a tissue. It's going to help support skin and other organs, cartilage, bone, and blood. Oh no, I'm so sorry, I read it wrong. It's going to make up our skeletal muscle, hollow organs, and tubes. I apologize. This one, it's, how do you say it? The very unique thing about muscle tissue is that it's able to generate electric signals, forces, and movement. So basically, we can kind of tell our brain, the central nervous system, again, our brain, spinal cord, and then anything in our peripherals to be like, brain, I want you to move my big toe. And then your brain is going to send that electric signal and be like, oh, okay, big toe moving, let's go. And it travels all the way down. Wow. And then you have the force and the type of movement to produce that. And you didn't really have to think about it. You just kind of do stuff, you know? But the muscles are very nice. Treat your body very nice. Another type of tissue we have are connective tissues. So the cartilage doesn't really have any blood supply. And that connective tissue is to help support the skin, organs, cartilage, bone, and blood. Okay? And then our last tissue we have is our nerve tissue. So this is what's going to be generating those electric signals that we are talking about to help, move your big toe. And it's throughout the body, and really, again, it's that central nervous system, that brain and spinal cord. So she wants us to not know about the matrix type. So we don't need to know like the actual layers of like, oh, where is it in the lamina? But we need to appreciate the amount that we have of it, the location of where we could find these things, and some of the unique features. So let's actually recite some of that after I hydrate. Hi, Boundary. Hi. Welcome. Welcome to late night stream, late night study stream. Z. Thank you for the hydrate reading. I will politely sip some water. Do you believe I'm running out of water? But thank you for the hydrate. I appreciate you. Welcome. So let's go over it again, okay? So the epithelium, again, very thin layer. Not thin, but it's thin in a sense that there's a minimal amount, and it's going to help cover the body surfaces. Let's skip connective really quick. Our muscle tissue, the matrix amount is very minimal, and again, that's going to be what we are familiar with, and its unique feature again is that it helps move us. And and the nerve tissue is going to be producing that electric signal, and it's pretty much going to be throughout the body, again concentrated in that brain and spinal cord, because that's going to be responsible for that nerve conduction and sending out those signals to our body. These are all going to be minimal matrices, but the connective tissue is going to be very extensive. A very unique feature for this is that it has no blood supply. The epithelial has a blood supply, but it's not like a direct blood supply. And then the connective tissue, again, it's going to help support skin and organs, cartilage, bone, and blood. So let's move on to metabolism. I don't recall the order. This has been a while since I've seen this, so I apologize. So metabolism. So what is energy? The capacity to do work. And so you actually have 3 types of work, okay? So you have chemical, transport, and mechanical. So for chemical work, you're going to be seeing what is happening at the cellular level, making or breaking bonds. The other type of work you're going to have is going to be the transport, which is the movement of ions across membranes. And then you're going to have mechanical, which is going to be movement of, again, our muscles, the cilia, and the organelle movement. So, we talked about the word flagella, and if you recall, it's like that little organism that has like the little tail end that moves around. So, yep, three times? No, not 3 times the work. 3 types of work are chemical, transport, and mechanical. And our energy that's going to help produce that work is going to come in 2 forms. It's going to be kinetic energy or potential energy. So our kinetic energy is basically us moving. So an example that they had used in my class is moving a ball up an incline. So while that ball is moving up the incline or up the hill, it's producing kinetic energy. That ball is moving. But now if you place the ball and it's not moving, and it's kind of at the tip of the hill, but it's not going to go down anytime soon, it has the potential though to go down soon, that's going to be potential energy. So again, kinetic is us actually moving, and the potential is the potential to happen, especially because of how it's set up and that stored energy of yes, this could potentially start rolling down the hill and producing that kinetic energy. Now we're going to magically skip to knowing the types of enzymatic reactions and knowing the oxidation reduction. Oh, I'm getting actually sweaty. What the heck? I'm not well versed in this topic, and again, I'm hoping my classmates guide has a better example, but we could talk about the abbreviations, or the abbreviations are mnemonic. So there's oil and rig, so like a oil rig, I guess. Oil is to understand that oxidation is loss, while rig is reduction is gain. Yep, that's all I got. Sorry. So this is a screenshot that I had from the PowerPoint. So which process results in production of ATP? Oh boy. Okay, this is a copy and paste from my classmates' notes. So ATP is basically energy in our body. And there's kind of a process called catabolism. I feel like I'm going to say cannibalism by mistake. Catabolism or anabolism that's going to help produce that ATP. So which process results in production of ATP? The cata, while the process that requires ATP is going to be the ana. So let's talk about it a little bit more because we have the breakdowns of the definitions right here. Whoops, there you go. So catabolism is going to be a metabolic process that results in the production of ATP. It is the breaking down of larger molecules into smaller ones. So something about like an exergonic reaction, which I think we do talk about in this next section, and we talk a little bit about glycolysis, which is also more in the next section. So the opposite of catabolism is going to be anabolism, and that's going to be a metabolic process that requires ATP, which is again that contrast to catabolism, which is again is going to be the production of ATP. So this process is going to be the synthesis of larger molecules from smaller ones, and so this is an endergonic reaction. So if we use our prefixes, exergonic, by the way, in catabolism is just kind of releasing or going out, like the EX and exit, exergonic, while endergonic and anabolism, which we see again right here, that's going to be the energy going in, endergonic. Sorry, that might have been a little stretch in saying it, but I hope you get a better idea of it. So the protein synthesis and DNA synthesis is just going to be an example of this. So let's talk about the different types of metabolism that we have. So we have anaerobic and aerobic exercises. So anaerobic is going to be the absence of exercise. Sorry, I'm thinking about aerobic exercises here. I'm so sorry. Anaerobic is going to be the absence of oxygen, while aerobic is going to be the presence of oxygen. Ana in general just means to not have that presence, or again that absence. anaerobic metabolism is not as effective as aerobic metabolism. As you can imagine, we need oxygen. We definitely need oxygen in our body. So having that aerobic metabolism, getting that oxygen within our system and helping produce that ATP is going to help us function much more than doing anaerobic metabolism. So let's follow again with this. A glucose molecule can produce 3 ATP molecules under anaerobic metabolism. So you see, that's very not productive. You only have 3 molecules for your whole body? Heck you. While it produces 39 with aerobic metabolism. And again, ATP is going to give us that energy. It's going to be that fuel for our muscles. So how do we produce ATP exactly? Let's try to see if we can get through the cycle. So there's going to be different ways that we do it, and there's 3. There's going to be glycolysis, the citric acid cycle, and the electron transport system. So in this order that I've also read it, the net yields are in this order. It's going from, is it descending? So glycolysis is going to give you the most, I believe, right? Or no, it's going ascending. Oh my goodness, I wish I can read. Anyway. So glycolysis, which is going to occur in the cytosol, which we were talking about, that was happening in the cell, it's going to produce a net of 4 ATP minus 2 ATP, which equals 2 ATP plus NADH? Huh? Okay, the net yield from glycolysis is going to be 2 ATP and 0 NDH. I'm gonna right here. I know they're trying to explain it to me, but my brain's kind of dummy at 9:30. So we're gonna go right here and highlight this. So you're only gonna get 2 ATP from glycolysis. So let's go on to the citric cycle, or citric acid cycle. So by the way, there's also the diagram right here. See, we have glycolysis right here. And now we're going to go to the citric acid cycle, which is happening in the mitochondria. So the mitochondria is going to be producing 6 NADH, 2 FADH2, and 2 ATP. So definitely that's a lot more than what we had just formed the glycolysis cycle. So our final one that we have is going to be the electron transport system. And pretty much, oh goodness, you're gonna get 28 ATP in general, because what happens is that they convert the FADH and the NADH, and I'm not that well versed in it. But either way, as long as I know that this is ascending order and this is how it works and what's happening and where, that's pretty much what I think she wants us to know. I'm crossing my paws for that one. Anyway, so let's talk about osmosis versus tonicity. So osmosis, I don't know if you cubs had remember or had this cartoon when you were younger called Osmosis Jones, like a very blue cartoon guy. Goes through water and all that. Anyway, osmosis is just like the transportation of water. So let's kind of get into this, shall we? So water is permeable across the cell membrane, and the water will migrate to areas of high concentration of solutes. So the actual movement again of water is going to be known as osmosis. So, and osmosis and the osmolarity, etc., etc. So you can kind of have different things. So you could have hypoosmotic. So hypo, again, if we break down that prefix, hypo means below. So we have below movement of water. So you're going to be having an osmolarity less than another fluid, ordinarily assumed to be plasma or extracellular fluid. And then we have the opposite of hypo, we have hyperosmotic. Hyperosmotic is going to be when we have osmolarity that's greater than another fluid. And then iso, kind of like the word isometric, iso is going to be the same. Isomotic is going to be having the same osmotic pressure on both sides. So both fluids are going to have the same osmolarity. These are my own personal notes, which I think I was telling my poor classmate because we shared a Google Doc. I'm just like, look, my poor brain, I'm blanking out, please help. But I didn't get a chance to walk back to that cycle, but that's okay. Alright, So I think she wanted us to appreciate or really know again from talking about the glycolysis, the citric acid cycle, and the electron transport chain again from earlier before the osmolarity topic, is to know that glycolysis is going to yield less than anaerobic metabolism. Because what did glycolysis do? Glycolysis is going to yield 2 ATP. Hey, but it says right here the anaerobic produces 3. Boo, I want a refund on my education. that is a thing that I politely highlight in red, and I'll definitely look into it. I wouldn't write that if I wasn't sure, so Anyway, so apparently glycolysis is gonna... Wait, I read that right! I'm so dumb! No! So, glycolysis is correct. So, that is what happens when you give me math. Glycolysis is only gonna produce 2 ATP. So yes, it's gonna yield less than anaerobic metabolism because anaerobic metabolism is gonna produce 3! And 3 is a bigger number than 2. Anyway. We also just need to know that the electron transport system, the goal for that is to transport as much ATP as possible. So we get about 32 ATP. That's going to be the thing that's going to produce the most energy for us. So yeah, posture check. I got you. Thank you, Alec. Thank you. Let me also politely sip water. Alright, thank you for the posture check, I appreciate ya. So let's move on and talk a little bit more about osmosis when we move on to the topic of cell membranes and transport. We're on unit 2 now. I think I'll try to go over whatever I can, and then maybe tomorrow when I do potentially another study stream, we'll go over the second half because I know it's a little late right now, TBH. Anyway, excuse me. So osmosis again, water is permeable across the cell membrane, and water, because again osmolarity or osmosis is the movement of water, will migrate to areas of high concentrations of solute. The actual movement again is osmosis, and less osmolarity to a greater osmolarity is basically kind of seen about the ratio of molecules to fluid or liquid. So pretty much there's a lower ratio of molecules to fluid. The fluid is more, we have more fluid, and the fluid would transport to a higher concentration of solute. This kind of goes into the idea of like, hey, when your body is dehydrated, that whole idea of system of osmolarity may be a little bit compromised because you definitely don't have enough water in your system until you have an additional intake of fluids, and that's why your body kind of warns you like, hey, I'm thirsty, go drink some water, and you're like, oh, okay. Hi Naga, hi, welcome, good evening, or good morning. welcome. I am politely studying because my brain said so. So yeah, we talked about the hypo, hyper, and osmotic, but we didn't get to talk about tonicity, so let's talk about that right now. So tonicity, not tonicity, but oh my goodness. It sounds very similar, I apologize. Tonicity, isn't that the word of like having like a stubbornness?
Tenacity.
Oh, that's tenacity, never mind. Yeah, tenacity is the quality or fact of being able to grip something firmly, and then the word I'm trying to say, I hope I'm saying it correctly.
Tonicity.
Alright, let's go back. Good evening, just 1 hour behind you. Let's go, 1 hour behind, let's go, yeehaw land. Sorry, I'm not going to assume that everyone 1 hour behind me is in Texas, but I would like to imagine. But good evening. Yeah, so tonicity is going to be the solution itself. So again, if you've seen in your biology class, have you seen the example about like the cell shrinking or even expanding? So this is what it's talking about. So what is occurring if the solution is hypotonic? So if you have a cell placed in hypotonic solution or liquid, the cell is going to swell. And why is that? So the cell is going to swell because oh my goodness. the cell is going to swell up. Oh my goodness, my brain stopped. The water wants to go from lower to higher. So if the solution is low, because again, hypo meaning below, it wants to go to an area of higher concentration, which is going to be the cell. And so if there's like this big rush of like, oh no, I gotta go, the solution's too low for me, we gotta go in the cell that was at a normal state is now going to begin to swell. But what about the solution is isotonic? If it's isotonic, again, there's no change. There's a perfect balance, and the cell, not the cells, but there's no rush to pretty much go anywhere. But let's say the solution is hypertonic, again, hyper meaning more, the cell is gonna shrink because the cell is normal, but it's like, oh, I really want to go to a higher concentration. The solution is that higher concentration, so it will all leave, and that is why the shrinking will occur. We can talk about the transports across membranes. Again, we talked about the cell membrane earlier, and we could talk about active versus passive transport. Really, in the end of it, active transport is going to require energy while passive does not. So that ATP that we're talking about that needed to be produced in any three of those cycles are necessary to get transport of certain molecules in our body. Passive, it's kind of like a ball rolling down a hill, basically, is a really good example. It's super easy, it's super chill, you just let that ball go. It goes from a higher to lower concentration, and there's no energy needed for that. She wanted us to appreciate Fick's law, which is the summation of all rules of the fusion into an equation. Heck that, I don't want to memorize an equation. But essentially says that the fusion rate increases with increased surface area, concentration gradient, or membrane permeability. I guess that makes sense. As you have more space, that increased surface area is going to increase the diffusion rate because there's going to be more that needs to diffuse through. So, yeah. Alright, moving on. So now we need to know, what are the three other classifications of membrane protein in the cell membrane? So we're going to have structural proteins, enzymes, and receptors. So for the structural proteins, that's going to help create junctions and connect to the cytoskeleton and link the ECM, which is the extracellular matrix, to the cytoskeleton. Then we have enzymes, which are going to help catalyze chemical reactions on the surface or inside the cells. And then we have receptors, which is going to do that chemical signaling. I feel like a lot of things do signaling, but hey, I don't make the rules. This is talking about protein and how the three properties arise from binding. We're going to politely... Alright, let's talk about somewhat fun stuff now. Let's talk about cell injury and repair. So, we should appreciate what is reversible and what is irreversible. So, if you have ischemia, which is like a lack of blood supply to a certain area, maybe infection, you have an immune reaction, there's some chemical factors in play, maybe you got bleach on yourself, I guess. Physical factors, maybe you cut yourself. Nutritional factors, like maybe you just didn't eat well. Psychosocial factors, basically your life, and aging. These all can play into factors that may be either reversible or irreversible. So reversible is basically the ability for the cell to adapt even with these changes that I've listed. And the body can roll with the punches, basically. If it's reversible, it's basically it's basically able to make these alterations in the cellular mechanism. But if it's irreversible, it's unable to adapt, and then you're going to end up with cell death or necrosis. And necrosis, again, it's kind of not a fancy way, but it's basically kind of decaying. So let's see. Let me read this caption to you. There are varying mechanisms for cell injury from ischemia to aging. Some cell damage is reversible and some is irreversible. Two forms of irreversible cell death is necrosis and apoptosis that result in two separate processes or methods of death. When the repeated stress is sublethal, the tissues can adapt in the following manners. So you can have atrophy, which is reduced cell, tissue, organ size. Hypertrophy, which is increased cell, tissue, organ cell size. You can have hyperplasia, which is going to be an increase of number in cells. You can have metaplasia, which is going to be a change in cell morphology, one cell type conversion for another secondary to persistent stimulus. For example, like your respiratory tract, smokers, etc. Let's see. Dysplasia. We're going to have altered cell morphology and histology with reduced histology, organization, increased numbers of cells. So dysplasia is just altered cells, and these cells can be precancerous, which is why it's important for any early signs and detection in your body if you see something wrong. We drew the word necrosis around a lot, so let's talk about it a little bit more. So necrosis is going to be, well, what is a good way to form it? I don't want to keep saying death, that's kind of scary. But it is. Necrosis is the death of body tissue, and it normally can occur when there's too little blood flow to the tissue. And this can occur from various things like injury, radiation, or chemicals like that. This kind of cell or death of the tissue is not reversible by any means. I'll be heading off for the night. Good luck on studies. Thank you so much. I have to also wrap it up soon because I got work and all that. So see. But thank you, Atomic, for stopping by. I appreciate ya. Please have a good night and the sweetest of dreams, okay? Good night. And sweet dreams. So necrosis can form in several ways. You can have liquefaction, causes, fatty, or gangrene. So for the coagulation aspect, it can be ischemic, so again, that lack of blood supply. And for example, the tissue of these certain things can die from a heart attack or renal failure, so like a kidney failure. The liquefaction aspect can happen if it's a fluid-filled or liquid viscous mass. That may happen because of the lack of blood supply, or even a bacterial infection such as like a stroke in the brain. Now this is going to be super gross, so I won't show it to you, but those who may have had a stroke, they may have the death of their tissue in a liquefied formation. So it's just basically a brain with a very liquidy mass, so bleh. You can have a caseous, which is going to be a combination of the two above, and it's going to end up as a cheesy appearance. For example, if you have tuberculosis in the lungs, which again, I'm not going to show that to you, cubs. You have fatty necrosis, which is going to appear opaque and chalk-like, and that's something you may be able to see in the pancreas. And then we have gangrene, which I think might be a term that more of you are familiar with. You can have wet gangrene, which is most likely due to an infection, or you can have dry, which is going to be due to poor circulation and tissues drying up, and there's no infection present in the dry one. So knowing the difference is going to be super important for gangrene. And let me see really quick. Yeah, gangrene in general is just, again, emphasizing that necrosis is just going to be the death of the body tissue due to lack of blood flow or a serious bacterial infection. Gangrene commonly affects the arms and legs, including the toes and fingers, but it can also occur in muscles or organs inside of the body, such as the gallbladder. Okie dokie. So let's see. How much more do we have right now? I don't know if I can get through this all today because I do have to wake up in a few hours for work, unfortunately. But I did want to get a little bit of a study session, and so I might call it. We can continue on tomorrow about it, and we can learn more about fun stuff like tumors, yay, and more of the cells and how the cells communicate, and yay. Monte, hi, welcome. Thank you for the headband. Thank you. I also have to go over this like mega review that, again, I think we got through a good chunk of it. If I Oh no, it showed the pictures. No. Yeah. I can put like a little marker right here. Wow, so smart. And we'll continue off from there tomorrow because I didn't realize I only wanted to do an hour. If I go any further, I'm gonna go an hour and a half, and then I'll be stuck here till 11. I'll be like, I didn't mean to do this. So, Erika, thank you for joining me for a study stream. Let's go see if we could find a raid target really quick. Even if it was a very short stream, I still gotta find a victim. But if you're new here and all that stuff, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate ya. Feel free to join the Discord where on Mondays we do anime night and all that jazz. And how do you say it? I make announcements when I go live. Today I said I wasn't gonna go live, and again I apologize for lying. I did not mean that. I just got an opportunity and my brain was like, go study, and I'm like, okay. Wait, there's an education tag and I didn't know it all along? No way. Wait, unless education is a thing. No, wait, there's an education tag? No, don't tell me. Or wait, hold on. I have to look at this. Did I really go this long? Oh no. Oh no. Education on this platform? More likely than you think. Oh, I feel so dummy. I just see someone else who's also like studying. But it looks like they're gonna wrap it up, so I'm kinda like, they're so I can't believe it. I could have been using the education tag. I'm so dummy. Wait, Big Ham streaming! Big Ham streaming! Let's go! I'm going to politely raid into her. Good night, Dr. Tippanya. Oh, give me a few more years and I'll be a doctor, I promise. Gotta take the chances. Education on this platform, more likely than you think. Honestly, you know, I had almost like the little bit of shame to be like, hey, I'm keeping it very chill. Maybe I should tag this as ASMR, and then I'm like, this is not ASMR. Whatever. Now I found a new tag, so I'm gonna take advantage of it. Because I feel really bad because I know I love a just chatting stream, and I basically still do just chat. But I also read off my notes. So I'm not lying, but I'm glad there's a more appropriate tag. Oh, I'm so excited. Now I have to go study tomorrow, I guess. I gotta show off the new tag. Mataro says thank you for the class, Miss Ya. You're very welcome. My fellow cop student. Anyway, let's get our raid message going for a big ham, okay? If you aren't subscribed, no worries. Feel free to use the bear emoji with the Gal Gal raid. And if you are subscribed, feel free to use the Tipagal with the Gal Gal raid. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you all as my students. I guess, is that a cute way to start ending the city streams? Thank you for being my students every cup. Thank you for coming to school, Bearcat school along with me. I appreciate you joining me, especially because it was very last minute. But hopefully maybe if you're going to bed or resting, relaxing, that this could be a good background noise, or maybe even just you preparing for bed. So again, please have a good night, sending lots of love. Let's go raid in the big ham now. She's playing StarCraft right now. She's gonna be basically playing StarCraft for the entire week. So if you like StarCraft, let's go. Yeah, and she's also doing like a little collab, so please go support the both of them if you don't mind, okay? Okay, let's go. Anyway, see you maybe tomorrow, but don't hold me accountable because I still got a quiz to do, so anyway, bye.